an exciting exhibit opens today featuring Betty Ford, who arguably could be considered one of the most influential first ladies ever.
From breast cancer awareness to treating drug and alcohol addiction, we know about her big causes, but this exhibit shows she's a real fashionista too.
And for the next several months, you can see Betty Ford, An Extraordinary Life at the Ford Presidential Museum. 40 dresses plus a number of amazing artifacts. It's all part of Betty Ford, An Extraordinary Life. We have the opportunity to talk with Susan Ford Bales, Betty's daughter here. Thanks for allowing us to be here with you today. When you walk around this exhibit, which is beautiful, what are some of the things that go through your head?
Well, I think some of it, when I look at the dresses, I go, oh, that was so-and-so, and that was the entertainer, and a lot of old memories come back. But we had fun at our state dinners, and my mother was determined that state dinners would be less stuffy and more about the guest or them, and just fun. I mean, we had fun at them, and you can see by the clothes and the pictures that we had fun.
And she's dancing in a lot of the pictures. She's having a wonderful time. She's a beautiful woman. And do you have any favorites in this collection that you're showing here?
My favorite, I would have to say, is the green one, which really isn't from a state dinner. It's from when we opened the museum and library here 30-some-odd years ago. And Mother got to dance on the stage with Bob Hope, and she did a tea for two. And to her, she just loved the stage, and she loved being a dancer and all of that. It was just something that was a real treat to her.
You had the opportunity to walk around with Rosalynn Carter and kind of share this experience with her. What was that like? I mean, she's one of the few women that actually held the same position as your mom.
Well, I mean, Mrs. Carter knows all of the things that that are involved in a state dinner. The planning and the menu and the flowers and being sure there's no food allergies and guests and the guest list and putting the guest list. It's a huge, investment in time and sort of, but how to have fun with them. And we talked about some of their guests and what did she do with some of her gowns. And she got rid of some of hers too, and some of them are at her museum. Some of them are at First Ladies' museums all over the country. So, what do you do with this stuff? Now, my daughter, who's in fashion, would love to have these bags.
I completely understand.
And be wearing vintage. So, she was like, can I have Grandma's vintage gowns? And I'm like, oh, please.
They're under lock and key at the
that's
museum.
Right. She won't be wearing them.
Yeah. Well, you are actually going to be speaking tonight at the museum. What are some of the things you're going to be sharing with the people that come to see you?
Well, I think it's going to be more of what my mother was behind the scenes as much as what went on in front of the scenes, and what everybody knows what she did for breast cancer and what she's done for chemical dependency and alcoholism. But some of it's going to be more of behind the scenes of what it was like as a family. We were a normal family, and we lived a very modest lifestyle before we went to that White House. I mean, I was so excited when we moved to the White House because I got my own bathroom and I didn't have to share a bathroom with my brother. So, it's things like that, the behind the scenes kind of thing.
That's wonderful. And you shared your mom with the entire world, and we thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Betty Ford, An Extraordinary Life. Come and check it out.
And what a gorgeous exhibit.
Yeah, it was actually really amazing to see that, and a lot of those items are stored and tucked away, and we don't see those, so it's really wonderful that they pulled them back out and now can see even more about Betty Ford and this amazing family from West Michigan.
It's going to be great, and you got a little bit of a sneak peek, but I personally can't wait to check it out, and it does coincide perfectly with the Diana exhibit that opens next month at the Graham.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Perfect timing. And speaking of amazing women, I did get the chance to talk with former First Lady Rosalynn Carter as well. Take a listen. Well, thank you, Mrs. Carter, for giving us some of your time. As walking around this exhibit, does this bring back some memories or thoughts of what it's like to be a First Lady and your own time in the White House?
It's really interesting to come and see and to think about my gowns. And she was so beautiful and so gracious and lovely.
Yes.
We got to be really close friends.
Well, you share that honor, that distinction that few women in our country get to do, is actually be the First Lady. And, what was that like for you, that experience?
It was, to me, it was a wonderful experience. I would get very upset at times, particularly when things didn't go the way I wanted them to go. But I think everybody faces that. And but it's just such a good bully pulpit. I was working on mental health issues, and Betty worked on women's issues. And I had some good times with her at ERA meetings, because I was working with ERA, and she had made such an impact.
Well, you have a new book out. It's about mental health, and Betty herself, as you had said, has made quite an impact in a lot of different areas. I think in looking at her life, what do you think her greatest contributions have been?
Well, I think the emphasis on women and the rights of women, but of course breast cancer, I think she really made it acceptable to have. I mean, it was like mental illness. There was such stigma against cancer back then, a long time ago. And people tried to keep it hidden. And she made it perfectly all right. For people to admit that they had breast cancer, needed help.
Yeah, right in the forefront.
She was in the forefront of that, and in the forefront of trying to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed, which I had been working on in Georgia before I came here. And we really worked hard on that after we got to Washington, too. Never has passed. Never has been ratified. But I was thinking the other day it would be good if Obama would bring it up now. I think maybe we could get it ratified. But she just was, and her personality, she was so wonderful and down to earth, and just a great person.
Yeah, well, two amazingly wonderful, influential women, yourself and Betty Ford, here at this special exhibit at the Ford Presidential Museum. That was quite an honor to get to talk with her.
I bet it was.
The exhibit runs through the end of February. Tonight, Susan Ford Bales and our political reporter, Rick Alvin, are discussing the life of Betty Ford. The discussion starts at 7:30 at the museum. It is sold out, but there's an event next week that you can attend.
All right, come out and see the exhibit and hear Ford Presidential Foundation trustee Red Cavaney talk about Ford's bid for election in 1976 and election night. It's Wednesday, November 3rd at 7:30. It's free, but they would like you to call to make a reservation. So the number is 616-254-0384, or you can send them an email at Ford_events@NARA.gov.
Wonderful. And so we have a lot more coming up on 8 West, including, we all gathered here yesterday for the show. Unfortunately, we weren't able to air the show, but we had a lot of guests come into our studios and a lot planned. So we recorded some segments, and we are going to be showing them throughout this show. Obviously, weather and the need for safety kind of put us off the air. So we're going to still bring those to you.
Yeah, she looks at me. Yeah. We had people come into the studio.
More of the keeping people safe part, right?
Right, yeah.
So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your all-access pass to everything West Michigan.